Coming up next on the show, she's a host on Disney Nerdist and played herself in Ralph. And played herself in Ralph Breaks the Internet. Please give it up for Annie Fernandez!
Y'all, when I was coming over here, I was like, do not cry, because I have fake lashes on and my makeup is gorgeous. I'm like, do not cry, but I didn't have tissues, but I have a roll of toilet paper back there. So I might have someone bring that out. Like so many of you, Disney has just been such a huge part of my life, and getting to be in Ralph Breaks the Internet with these other women was phenomenal. It is amazing, and I know you all are waiting to see them. So without further ado, bringing out our Little Mermaid Ariel. Yes! It's cool, Mike. I know. It's so cool. It says, I just realized, Danny, that you're in Ralph Breaks the Internet with us. We are in the Yes! We met at the premiere, and I'm going, gosh, I know her. How do I know her? Yes. So cool. I know. It was such a beautiful. They got me down to a T, though. It was like the way I talk with my hands. I was like, you didn't have to go that far. They got you down pat. Well, hello. Good morning. How's everybody doing? We can't see you, but you can see us. Yes. All these incredible people. We've had such a fun weekend. Thank you guys so much for coming to our tables. This is my second time at New York Comic Con. This is amazing. Yeah. So many people. Y'all really came out. I wanted to bring up next, though, our beauty, Belle. It's great to be here. Yes. And finally, our New Orleans princess, Tiana, Anika Noni Rose. Yes. Good morning. Hello, everyone. Hi. Good morning. There are so many people here. I know you guys got to see some of the cosplayers that came up. I mean, what is it like to be here and see the fans and see people cosplaying as your characters? Overwhelming. We're crazy. We're thankful. We're very thankful. Anika and I were just saying, there's an energy in New York City that you don't find anywhere else in the world.
New York is home for me. I've been back and forth to LA, but New York is my base and my heart. So to be here and to see so many Tianas, teeny ones, grown-up ones, and a couple of Naveen's, it's been phenomenal, because there's nothing like going home and seeing your face reflected. So thank you all.
I saw you retweeted that girl that was dancing, that one that went viral. Yeah, she's so cute.
She's fantastic. She's so cute. I'm hoping to meet her at some point. We're trying to make a plan, me and her.
Okay, is she here?
No, she's not here. She's from Houston, but planes go to Houston.
Yep. Disney, look it up. So since we are here at Comic-Con, I just want to know, do y'all have any nerdy fandoms or geek things that you guys are fangirling out about?
Well, we have a few actually.
Go ahead. I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'm a Marvel crazy person. And I will be content on my bucket list if I ever meet Scarlett Johansson. I am totally in love with her. I think she's so awesome, and I like to kickbox and pretend I'm her. And a whole Marvel.
I'm a big fan of Tom Kenny, who's SpongeBob. So
Tom's wife and I worked together at Cartoon Network for many years, and we both have sons named McKinley. So Jill and I were pregnant at the same time, so Tom and I haven't seen Tom in almost 25 years, so I had to run over and stop his line for 30 seconds to take a picture and geek out, so that was fun.
Oh, I was gonna say that you're also Yamandi.
I'm sorry?
You're also in Black Panther's Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a Marvel character up here.
Yes, I got to go from a princess to a villain, which was fantastic. So much fun. Anytime I have an excuse to say, it's fantastic.
So I wanted to know, because I grew up with Disney and I know that y'all did too, were there any Disney films that you were drawn to before you were princesses?
Absolutely.
My favorite film of all time is Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing. I was so nervous when I met her. I couldn't even speak. And then Michael and I were at Disney World, and she was there for an event. And she said, "Oh, Paige and Michael, I'm kind of on my own. Would you like to join me for the weekend?" So my idol, I got to hang out and get to know Julie Andrews, and that was a fan moment that I will cherish the rest of my life.
I grew up with Cinderella, so that was kind of my girl, and coming from a small town, and I don't know, I just made that connection with her because she seemed to just kind of reach for the unreachable, seems to really go outside of the box, and I think growing up and just really being a huge Disney fan, watching The Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday night in black and white, that shows our age. But yeah, so just to be able to have that and to be part of the Disney family all these years has been a blessing. Absolutely.
I love it. I love Disney. I love Fantasia. I love Mary Poppins. I like the Aristocats. I loved Disney. I loved The Little Mermaid. I loved your song. I love Ursula. Like, that is some epic shade that she's throwing in that song. Something's wrong, you can't speak. Poor unfortunate souls. So what? Who cares? Check for edges. That's magnificent.
I don't know if you got to see the Ursula that came up here. You'll have to see afterwards. Yes.
I saw a couple of great.
It's fun playing a villain. I wanted to actually go all the way back to the beginning. I don't know if your parents are like mine, but some parents are a little concerned when you pursue like a non-traditional career. So what was the jump for you when you realized that you could do this professionally?
Okay. Well, I was 8 years old. I grew up in Rockford, Illinois. I'd never seen a Broadway show. I owned an LP. You don't know what those are. Marvin Hamlish, a chorus line, and I had my leotard and tights and a black hat, and I choreographed down in the basement in front of a mirror. And I kind of told my mom, I think I want to be a working actress who sings, dances, and acts in this place called Broadway. And she was like, okay. But it was just this thing, and so I think my family was just thinking, yeah, that's lovely. What a great idea, but kind of went to college and figured out, I think I'd like to try this, and a year after my first year I started working. So it's definitely been a God story the whole way, but for me, it was life-changing was that A Chorus Line album, and working with Marvin until the day he passed away. It's like, a full circle dream, and Paige and I were talking about that. It's just this full circle that we are, our word is thankful, grateful, to be able to be here with you guys talking 30 plus years later about this amazing project for all of us. So we're thankful, very thankful.
I was saying to Jodi last night, I had this moment yesterday where I just had to pinch myself and say, is this really happening? It's just like sometimes, we have the best job in the world, don't we? Oh my gosh, we're so blessed. Yes, we do. But for me, I started acting when I was like 6 years old, and I went to children's theater. I'm from Fort Lauderdale. But my mom was actually a literary genius. She was a teacher of Shakespeare, so I had to learn Shakespeare when I was young. And I told my parents I was going to New York at 17 when I graduated high school, and that's what I did. And my mom and my dad were actually really smart. My dad was a very successful architect at the time, but they said, here's $300, you do it on your own. And I thought it was cruel at the moment, but it was genius, because it really made me stronger, and I appreciated everything so much more. I was very lucky. I got my equity card within a year, and my first show within a year at 18. Off Broadway, Gift of the Magi. Yeah. And my first Broadway show with Shova. And it was kind of funny. My acting teacher at the time, when I was a little girl, she was really mean to me. So I would paint watercolors and give her a watercolor, and then she started to love me. And she always said, well, you're not going to be an actress, you're going to be an artist. And that made me even angrier. So when I got my first Broadway show, I invited her to the opening. But I did tell her, because now I'm with Disney Fine Art as an artist, which is my second passion. But I did tell her, I appreciate that you encouraged me with my art. So, but my parents, they were proud of me. They thought I was crazy, you know, but they knew I was committed to it. I'd been that way since I was little.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think I was different. I'm sorry. I think I was different. I wasn't a show kid. I, as a little kid, told my mother that I wanted to be a veterinarian and a superhero. And then I really didn't perform. I wasn't in ballet. Some people are like, I studied ballet at 3. I wasn't that girl. But my high school did a show. Somebody just asked me this earlier today. They did a musical, and my mother had the album. It was Fame. And I was like, well, I know that music. My mom has that music. I'm going to audition, never having done that before. And so I got the role through default. They didn't want a freshman, they wanted a senior. Senior had work study. So I ended up doing the role, and nobody knew that I could sing. I mean, I sang in the car or whatever, but not in a big way. And my mom was supposed to record the show, and she never pushed record because she was shocked. And so she just was like, and she cried and dissolved. We had 4 shows. She didn't push record one good time. So that was how I started, and I realized that I loved being on stage. Like nothing else had felt that good. And my parents and my grandparents, nobody ever said, no, don't do this. No, you need to. My dad's a lawyer, and he still wasn't like, make sure you get a backup. Because I'm not really a backup girl, and I think backup is very smart. And don't think that I'm not telling you to have a backup plan, because it's the smart way to go. But I am a Virgo, and I am stubborn, and when I put my mind to it, that's what I'm doing. So, like, I was lucky that I was loved and I was encouraged, and my parents were at everything that I ever did. And I'm saying this out loud because I want the parents in here to hear this, that even if you don't believe that your child will succeed, please go. Please let them know that they can, because you never know. I'm from Bloomfield, Connecticut. There is no reason. There's no reason that I should be where I am today doing what I do, judging by geography or by example, because I didn't have those things. What I had was heart and spirit and a gift and love and perseverance. And that takes
My parents were supportive. They were just like, are you sure you don't want to do? Are you sure? And then when I started to like get all of this, they're like, we always knew. We always knew.
I thought we always knew.
We had a special guest that just popped in
Yes.
on stage with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the voice of Cinderella. I told her to crash the party. She's working. She's actually here representing another company and another project. But she's one of us. She's our Disney princess.
Yes,
She's been here
yes.
forever.
I did not say I'm going to share. I really was just going to hug them and keep going.
No,
She makes it that way.
I told her to crash the party, and Danny's
The more princesses, the better.
Hey, what an honor.
Look, Jennifer's been with us at the Disney family for a really, really long time.
24 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, huge, gorgeous love and respect for Ariel. It's just, yeah.
I would also say that her princess has the best dress. Yes,
You
it's
kind of
magnificent.
That's my wardrobe, black or blue.
And also Jennifer for a long time did Sleeping Beauty Aurora. She actually doubled up on our princess, but she's so darn popular we had to just devote her completely to Cinderella.
So Jennifer, I'm kind of interested in your story as well. When did you realize, like when did you make the jump and realizing that you could do this professionally, that you could pursue this creative endeavor?
I was a teenager and I was seen in rock clubs and got a job at a video production studio, and they had an audio studio next door. I went to a fine arts high school because I just didn't fit at a regular school. I was bullied like mad and, you know, all that stuff. So they asked me to go next door and do a commercial one day, and they paid me, I think, $30 or $35, and I was hooked. And I kept remaking my demo tape. I got mentors who were very kind, Greg and Courtney, and they coached me, and I went door to door cold calling ad agencies, and it was a very practical thing for me. I didn't have the courage to believe that I could pursue my creative joy, which honestly singing is my first love. But I'm a rock singer, I'm not a Broadway style singer. And that's just kind of, I just sort of pursued it like a business every freaking day. It's persistence, you know, it's persistence. It's just dogged persistence. And I've been blessed to be around unbelievably gifted, incredible, creative, gorgeous spirits like these my entire life, and I'm insanely grateful. I always say any talent I have is really the result of the people around me. You know, I learn from everybody I work with. They're just insanely gifted.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of that, yes. You all are such iconic role models for everybody here, definitely me. Who were your role models growing up in television and film?
Well, for me, I think I'm gonna have to say Barbra Streisand. So that was, I learned how to play the guitar, and I just kind of played all of her songs in my room, just singing and imitating her. Carole King, James Taylor, Chicago, the Doobie Brothers. I'm giving my age, but it's not good. It's just a number, whatever. So yeah, and I think, and that's kind of on my bucket list, is to meet her. So if you can hook me up, that'd be awesome. But yes, absolutely, just huge fan of her storytelling. That's my thing. That was Howard's thing as well, and we would talk about that all the time. Like, don't sing, Jodi. Just tell the story. It's a monologue that happens to have pitch. Think of Barbara. I'd be like, yes, sir. He knew best.
True. Well, Barbara was definitely one of mine. I would sing to her all the time. But I love Judy Garland. And so Judy was one of mine, Julie Andrews, and oddly enough, Maria Callas. I would pretend I could sing opera when I sang with Maria Callas, but it actually helped. I did a little bit with Michael Tilson Thomas, and I realized it was not my thing, opera, but I love to act. I love theater too much, and Broadway theater. But Judy Garland, I had a chance to play her briefly, and hopefully I'll go back to that at some point and do a tribute concert to Judy.
There are a lot of voices that I love. I think one of the first voices that I felt completely, well, there were a lot, okay. So, Whitney Houston, epic vocals, epic control, Barbra Streisand, phenomenal. There's a woman named Phyllis Hyman who was dead, beautiful and amazing, and Julie Andrews, who I sang Climb Every Mountain at an event, and I don't know that I knew that she was going to actually be there when I chose that song to choose. And so after the event, we went and we had a food thing. I'm tired. Sorry. We had food. We ate. Cute. So we had a reception, and somebody was like, Anika, I really want you to meet Julie Andrews. So now Mary Poppins, I think, was the first movie that I saw in a theater as a little bitty kid, and I called it Mary Poppins. Couldn't quite get it together. But I walked up to her, and I'm not a starstruck person. I'm just not that person. I'm just like, hey, we all got blood, we all got beating hearts. And she was like, oh, it's so lovely to meet you. And I said, it's really nice to meet you. And I everything. Debbie Allen was my next, and Dorothy Dandridge was also an idol. And Julie Andrews, I think we've all probably had the good fortune to bump into, and I'm speechless. She's the walking embodiment of grace, class, kindness, joy, giftedness, and she's just Julie. It's just amazing. But there's something really royal about her. So royal. But it's unintentional. It's totally unintentional. That's who she is. Yes, she is effortless.
She's royalty.
It's effortless. She is. Yes, she is. And that voice was unparalleled. Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My vocal icons were a little different. Robert Plant and Ann Wilson. I'm with you, dating myself. But yeah, and then, the actors. I remember when I first moved to LA, just being so discouraged because I wasn't as skilled as I wanted to be and really wondering if I should do this. And then I thought, you know what, fortunately this voice of wisdom popped in and went, just please stop. In 20 years, then check back. And if you're not close to it, then we can talk. And I was like, okay. And I thought of Meryl Streep and all the people, Daniel Day-Lewis, people we greatly respect. And I'm like, okay, 20 years. I'm just gonna close my eyes till then. Yeah.
Anika, I was gonna say when I met y'all in the back, I was like, okay, oh my gosh, I listen to these, but I would just sing and dance to y'all's music in my room, and it's just so beautiful. And now I'm sharing it with my niece. And now, what is it like to have so many generations affected by your work?
It's incredible to think for Mermaid that we're on our 4th generation now. In 33 years, it's really unbelievable, and to share this with people, because you get great-grandparents now with their great-grandchildren. And so it's wonderful to see it cross over the generations. And for my own kids of Delaney's 18 and McKinley is 20. McKinley's with us, but Delaney's back in college. And to have that go through your children and to see it through their eyes through the time period is unbelievable. It's kind of like experiencing it a second time for myself, because I get a chance to kind of stop and take a view through their perspective. And it's unbelievable, thanks to Howard Ashman and Alan Menken. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Howard Ashman, absolutely. If it weren't for him with Smile and then just miraculously opening up the audition for all the girls when the show closed tragically after 6 weeks. He felt so sorry for us. He gave us all a chance to go to the audition. So I owe my entire career to Howard Ashman and make sure that I am so blessed and so thankful. But it is amazing to be able to share it through 4 generations now. It's a real gift. It's a gift, and we don't take it lightly. Honestly, we don't.
I feel the same way about Howard as well. Beauty and the Beast was Howard's vision, and we'd never swayed from that. From the artists to the animators to the musicians, all the actors, we followed what Howard wanted. I think that's why it's so special. And I feel the same way about Jodi. We're on our, 4th generation of Beauty and the Beast now too, and I love hearing your all stories and meeting you, and I talked Jodi into doing these Comic-Cons.
5 years. Yes. 5 years. Paige kept saying, come on.
Yeah, I know. And then she said, I know. And then the first one she did, she was in awe of all the fans and what they were telling her, and we did have fun, and we're still having fun. We're going to keep having fun.
We love your stories. That's what we love most. We love your stories when you come to the table. I love to hear the connection that it makes. That's why we have our Kleenex boxes next to us.
Thank you.
Triggers. They'll come, you come up and you're totally put together. But the second, and it's not us. It's your relationship to the character and to the film, and the relationship of where you were the first time you saw it. And so that's where the uncontrollable emotion comes. And you don't understand, as an observer of that, it's a gift and a privilege for us to be able to take a little look inside your life. It's almost like we just get to see a glimpse of this special experience. And we feel privileged, you know, to hear your story. So we really appreciate that.
So The Princess and the Frog is only on its 10th anniversary. Which what? Thank you. I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry. I wasn't like, say that again, sorry. Say love. Thank you. So it would make sense that I don't have a generational story. However, people waited so long for Princess Tiana. I have had parents I had a man come up to me in the street in New York the year that it came out, and he was like, I'm so happy because, and then he burst into tears. It was the first time he was able to buy his daughter a princess doll that looked like her. So, people have been waiting. I've been waiting. I met a little baby yesterday who was surly, but really loves the movie, but surly to be a Comic-Con. I think she was 1.5, and I have to say I was in love with her. But it's a true gift. I had a woman send me a tweet some years ago. I guess it was right after it came out on DVD. And she had a video of her son from the back. And I could hear him sort of singing in this little angelic new voice. And she tweeted me and she said, I want you to know that, sorry. Okay. It gets me every time I think about it. That my son was nonverbal autistic until we got this movie and he started to sing with your voice. And that is an honor and a gift and a joy that I had no idea I would be able to be a part of, because it's so much it's so much more than just me. You know, voices are wavelengths, and music moves through people in wavelengths, and that's why people are like, well, I don't like a musical, and then they go to musical and they're like, you know, because musicals get you in a place that you're not expecting. They reach in and they get you by the wavelength, they get you by your emotions, they move you. And so it is really a true honor and gift to be able to be part of the instrument that moves someone, but also moved someone to feel the need and the ability to communicate outside of themselves. That is beyond anything that I ever thought that I would be a part of, and I feel very, very blessed in that.
I'm so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
I know. Oh yeah, where's my toilet paper?
Kleenex for her.
I know I need my roll. But I did want to talk about these films and like your favorite moments from them. Now that I have access to all of you, like what are the memories that you have from making them? Do you have a particular favorite moment in singing or behind the scenes or working with the other actors?
I think everyone has seen my special moment, which is Howard Ashman in the studio with me, standing to my left, and we've turned the lights off. That's after we've recorded for 7 hours and found out it was the wrong microphone. And then we did it again for 2 or 3 passes, and those were the ones to keep because our time was running out. But it was Howard standing right next to me, and somebody asked me yesterday, what is he whispering? What is he whispering? Because Howard had a tendency to put his hand over his mouth and kind of talk to you like this the whole time. So what he's whispering to me is just tell the story. Just say the monologue. Just tell the story, keep it simple, keep it little. So he would set up next to me and stay behind the glass with the directors on the other side of the glass, which is really unusual. Usually you're kind of by yourself because people make too much noise in the studio, but Howard, of course, was silent. And he is getting me into that position emotionally and spiritually and mentally into telling the story of part of your world, which I have to say, every single nuance, every pronunciation, every form of emphasis, and every interpretation of the line that I am singing part of your world is Howard. It's Howard's version. He handed it to me on a silver platter, and I just did what I was told. And because I grew up being an imitator, that's kind of how I grew up starting to sing, is listening to other singers and pretending, sounding like them. It was very easy for me to copy Howard. So every single thing of where he takes a breath, when he doesn't sing, no vibrato. And so he told me when the song came out, we went to the screening on the lot, he came up to me before, he goes, "Jodi, you're not gonna like it." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Because it's not a song, it's a story. And the notes are not perfect, and it is not vocally perfect." And he's a perfectionist 1,000 times more than I am. So I never had to worry about, once I walked out of work, I knew that my work was in great hands because Howard was the perfectionist of all and such a genius. But he was right. It's not vocally correct, if I can say it like that. But the heart of the story is exactly what we needed for Ariel. So that's a fond memory. And every time I sing it, and I've sung the song now for 34 years, I never get tired of singing it because, and that's you. I mean, you might get tired of me singing it, but I don't get tired of it. And the reason why is because the first note that starts on the piano, I see Howard standing right next to me. And so it's almost a little selfish moment that I get to relive a memory from so many years ago. That's like a wonderful, wonderful moment for me of 3 minutes and 35 seconds that I just get to hold on to and just be so grateful. So it's a huge blessing. So that's my memory.
It is not over. It is one of my most played on Spotify. So.
Well, for me, it's also Howard Ashman. And on the funny side, my very first day I went in to record, I don't know what, I was playing to the back row or whatever, and he said, "Ethel Merman, stop." He did, yeah. He said, "Okay, you're on camera, you're on film, small, subtle, all that." But that was the funny part. But the other part that was interesting and that was really emotional for me was this title song of Beauty and the Beast. Angela was so brilliant. I have to tell you, when she came to record it that day, we were all in the studio with the symphony, and Angie had been up for 24 hours with flight trouble and had no sleep. And Don Juan said, "Angie, go home, we'll do this another day." She said, no, you've got the orchestra here, everything. And I have to preface this, I saw her 5 times in Gypsy on Broadway. I'm a huge fan. So she got up to the microphone and the orchestra started and she sang Beauty and the Beast to perfection. There wasn't a dry eye in the studio, and that's the one take that ended up in the movie. So, but it was interesting when we did the press tour though, she said, "Paige, I'd really preferred if you would sing it, for the press, because I really, I get really nervous about it." And of course I was thrilled. And I got to go out to Alan Menken's house, and Howard was really sick by this time and in the hospital. And Alan taught me the song, and we sang through it, and he said, we have got to call Howard. He has never heard anybody but me or him sing it. He hadn't heard Angela yet, so I sang Beauty and the Beast over the phone to Howard, and we chatted for a little bit, and that was the last time I actually got to talk with Howard. But he loved what I did with it, and gave me his blessing to do all the press conferences. Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's kind of sad. Jodi saying she never heard that story. I usually don't tell it because it's kind of sad, but you guys are huge Ashman fans, so I want to give that.
I have a couple of things that were really, really special with the movie. The first time I auditioned in Animation Bungalow, which is not on the studio lot, it's somewhere else. And that was amazing because Randy Newman was there, the pianos were like this. And he's a little shy, and so it takes a minute for him to come out, but he can kill a piano. And I think I sang every jazzy tune in my book, because they were like 20s jazz. I was like, oh, I got this, I got this, I got that, I got this, I got this, I got you. And so I sang everything. And then the second time I went in, which was months later, I was in the animation building. And I was shaking. I was so moved, because you walk down this hallway and there are the original gels from Bambi and Fantasia and all the things that you grew up watching. So I was like exquisitely moved by the time I got to the audition. But the thing that really like took me out was Ron and John love to surprise you. They're great guys to work with, and they love to make you happy. So we went to the toy exhibition in Paris, and I was there to meet the toy makers so they could see me and I don't know, whatever they were going to do, and I could be aware of what was going to be put out. And they said, Anika, we want you to watch this little clip they're going to play at the end and make sure it's okay. We've got your name up there. We just want to make sure that you're comfortable with it. I was like, okay, all right, that's good, thanks. And they hit play, and it was the first time that I saw Tiana fully animated and in color. I had no idea that Tiana was going to look as much like me as she did, and I was mind blown, and I had no words. Like, I felt like I'm not a very crying person. Let me just say that. You don't know that sitting on this stage. I'm not top of the hat crier. I cried all the way through the making of this movie, and when it came out, because everything felt momentous and special and like such a gift. I never wanted to be a princess. I wasn't a princess kid. I was in a tree. Like, I was on a bike, in a tree, on a roller skate. I did want to be a voice, very much. And I didn't, because I was a child, I didn't equate that with acting. I equated it with fun. And I was the kid who would walk through the mall and imitate people walking behind them. And my mother was like, I am 5'2". I can't help you. Can I help you if this man turns around? But I would imitate people all the time, and I wanted to be a voice, and I didn't care if it was a leaf or a chair. I did not care. So when this came up, I knew I wanted to do it. And then when I saw who Tiana was, and at the time her name was something else, it was Madeline. But when I saw it and I saw her description, I was like, it's me.
She is you. She is you. I painted Tiana. I like to paint Tiana. But when I painted her, I just have to paint you.
She is you. Thank you. But her spirit
is you. Totally.
It's like I recognize her. I know this girl, and it's so special when you get to align with your character from your spirit. When you don't have to take yourself as much out of yourself. Like, that's fun and amazing when you can do that and you're able to. But when you see and you have the magnetic pull of your spirit to that character's spirit, I knew that it was for me. I knew it. And I was really glad to be right. Really glad to be right.
I think my strongest memory, because I'm in a unique position here. I'm the number 2 in the role. Is a tape recorder. It's about this big, and I arrived at Disney Character Voices to audition to be the second voice of Cinderella, because Eileen was aging out. She couldn't produce the sound anymore. I was never allowed to watch cartoons as a kid, but that one I knew. And I used to do jingles before I moved to LA, so I sat down with a tape recorder, and I was so lucky because nobody else was there. And I just hunkered down next to it, and I learned her speaking like a melody. And I just learned it like a song. And then who she was, we have so many things in common. I grew up, I really didn't have friends as a kid. I had like one friend at that school and one friend at that school, and that was it. My friend was my dog and the trees. And I was like, this is me, this is my soul. It was such a privilege and a joy to be able to step into that role and to pick up that mantle and be trusted with it. And then when we moved on into Cinderella, 2 and 3, to be able to bring in that more adventurous, kind of wild and crazy, little warrior spirit of her, which was just it's such an incredible privilege.
Yeah. I'm glad that you talked about that, though, because one thing that people don't know about voiceover is that, you do it 100 million times before you get to the final process, piece. And I've already told you I'm sleepy. But even in regular film, there's voiceover involved because you'll shoot something, then you have to go back and like the sound didn't do right, so you have to go back and you fix the sound because an airplane came by or whatever. And what I do as well is you have to match your mouth. But if you get caught up on just watching your mouth, you're never going to match it because your eye and your ear and your mouth are not going to work in the same time period. So you treat it like it's a song, and you learn the melody of what you're saying and the rhythm of what you're saying, and that's the way to match as you go into a voiceover. If you have to do a matching thing, yes, you listen to it as you listen to a song, and that's how you put it out, and you nail it. So that's a little gift that you just gave in that conversation.
Thank God I never had to do that.
This song also brings your heart and spirit in. If you're just matching the mechanics of what you did in the moment, you're missing the soul of it. And the song brings the soul in.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to talk about the princesses as far as they're all women who are seen as different or weird or, you know, unique for wanting something different than what everyone around them wants. That everyone around them wants. Can you kind of talk about having to stand true to your own uniqueness?
We retrieved the object! We got it, we did it!
Yes, that would be the question. So all of these women, all of these princesses are seen as different or weird, you know, or they're not like their friends because they want a life or they're pursuing a dream that's different than those around them. Can you speak on standing true to your own uniqueness?
Well, I think in regards to Ariel, that it's her tenacious spirit, and I think it's, again, wanting for something more, wanting for something that is not the norm, wanting for something that's definitely outside of the box of what looks perfect and fits in this particular world. And for Ariel, she is breaking out of the mold. And there's going to be some rebellion, there's going to be some frustration, there's going to be some disobedience, there's going to be some serious challenges. But I think it's her tenacious spirit that we can connect to. And when I'm talking to kids and meeting folks that connect with this character, that seems to be what drives them the most, is her tenacious spirit. And it's something that I have brought to Ariel, something that she keeps reminding me of on a daily basis. It's something that's led us as we parent our kids, is to be able to really do think outside of the lines, to draw outside of the lines, which for me, as a girl coming from Illinois, I've definitely done that. It's something that's been kind of foreign, but being weird is incredible because you can be yourself and you don't necessarily have to fit in. And I love when I meet people all around the world, and especially at these events. I love getting to meet the fans that connect to Ariel because that's one of the qualities that they love about her, is that they don't have to fit into a certain type of mold. And it's something that lets us love one another and deem one another more important, and to build one another up in our unique qualities about each and every one. And just as Anika had shared, one thing about the people that love Ariel is we have a lot of wonderful folks that are on the spectrum. We have a lot of wonderful folks that are drawn and learn how to speak. They can connect to Ariel when she lost her voice, figuring out how to speak. I do need to learn to sign because I have a lot of incredible folks that I want to communicate. That's my next challenge. I'm going to learn how to sign. Oh my gosh, I have to. It's so frustrating to me that I haven't after all these years, but I think it's beautiful that these folks want to connect to Ariel because they want to be unique and different like her. And it's really beautiful, really, really, really amazing.
It's perfect. You said a lot of stuff I was going to say. We think alike. Well, I thank God we finally had a heroine that loves to read. So, it's interesting, you know, people say we love your work as Belle, but my Belle is also Linda Wolverton, who wrote the screenplay. It's Mark Hahn, who animated her, and James Baxter. I mean, there's so many people, and Howard. I mean, Howard kind of was Belle and Ariel, that's, you know, in his soul, both of those characters. But I love the fact that Belle was far ahead of her time. If you think about it, in the 1800s, and she was 20 years old, people usually got married at 14, so she would be considered an old maid. And what's wonderful, she could care less, you know? She wasn't looking for a man. She was looking for knowledge and adventure, and when she fell in love with the beast, I love the fact, as I've gotten older, I appreciate the other side of her, that she gave up her life for her father. And then ultimately, the beast saves her, and she saves the beast at the end. And a lot of that didn't resonate with me as much when I was younger, how important that moment was. And actually, that scene we recorded probably more times than any other scene, when Maurice, she gives up her life for her dad. And I was just very proud to be a part of a character that's there again, the first brown-haired, brown-eyed princess. That was something I pushed very hard for, as well as Linda Wolverton. And people just tell me they just so appreciate it because they feel odd too. I was odd. I mean, Belle is me. In fact, probably one of the hardest things recording it is that Howard kept saying, "We want Paige in there." And it's like, you feel so vulnerable, you know, when you let all your guard down. I would hide behind characters, you know, played parts like Edwin Drood or whatever, and that was easier. But opening yourself totally vulnerable is difficult. And because of Howard, he was able to bring that out of me, and Kirk and Gary are directors. And I'm just so glad you embraced my movie.
With Tiana, she wanted something that was different than her friends around her. They gave her a hard time. So how do you stand true to your own uniqueness? Because a lot of these princesses were seen as being different in their movies.
Well, I guess we're all a bunch of weirdos on this stage because, you know, it's sort of weird. I think that people look at me and they think that I'm very graceful and sort of classy, at least that's what people tell me, but I trip upstairs. Very good at tripping up the stairs. I was a major nerd as a kid. I had more books in my room than dolls. I loved to read. That did not endear me to my schoolmates, which is odd because we are in school. But I probably had, in high school, 4 good, strong friends. You know, high school's rough. Everybody knows high school. People mean. And so, you know, coming into myself as a performer was very interesting because then I was oddly popular for the thing that came out of my throat, but still fun to hate on because I was in a book, or you know, I didn't do the things that a lot of the kids were doing. However, I was brought up to be myself. I was, and still am, very content to be somewhere with a book and a cat. You know what I mean? And I like to have friends that, excuse me, that it's okay for us to be rowdy and have fun and be loud and silly, and that's very much a part of me, but it's also okay to be like, hey, let's just go to each other's house, make some food, listen to some music, laugh, you know, and be our goofy selves. And I think that it's really, really important because, you know, if you looked at the mainstream when I was a kid of what was considered beautiful, it wasn't me. You know what I mean? It was, at one point, I think that because of Whitney Houston, and I found out she was a model, and I was young, and I was like, well, maybe I can be a model, and my mother was like, okay.
you know, she took me to this agency, which I want to say was like Barbizon. Don't ever go to Barbizon, they take your money. Don't trust that.
Bad Yelp review.
It was not nice. And this woman looked at me, a kid, like 13, 14 years old, and she said, well, your butt is too big, your thighs are too big, your nose is too big, your lips are too big. No, I don't think it's gonna work. And, you know, and I was...
Have you looked her up since?
No, I'm sure she's seen me. Be true to yourself. Wear your glasses. Don't be afraid to smile with your braces. Do the things that you love to do. Be silly. Dance when you want to, even though nobody else likes the song. You know what I mean? Like, live. Because ultimately, that is the thing that makes you weird, is one day the thing that makes you special. So hold on to that. Somebodies are going to love you dearly for the thing that somebody else thought was weird. And that'll make it all the more better because you were yourself the entire time.
What more do we need to say? I mean, that's it on the head. You know, in terms of Cinderella, for me, her weird was her kindness and her compassion. She lived in a place where that was not culture. And she was counterculture, and she was connected to the world around her through the animals and the trees and all that. And she stayed true to herself, and magic came in, and that weird won the day. And I think in the times we live in, to live out of your compassion and your own conviction of who you are is an act of rebellion, and that's the rebellion we need.
So I'm gonna open it up to just a couple of audience questions. I think we have, okay. And while we're doing, I don't know where the mic person is, possibly. Great. Yeah.
Great pastor.
But I wanted to get one more question in with y'all. If you could be any other Disney character aside from your own, who do you think you relate to the most? Anyone in the Disney universe?
I'm right where I belong.
Okay.
I'm right where I belong. Yep.
I was gonna say I'm kind of like Cogsworth, but.
Wait, are we folding Marvel into the Disney universe or no?
That's a good question. If you could be any one Marvel character, who would you be?
I would be Storm.
Move on. Move on.
Thor.
Paige, you know Jodi the best. Who do you think that she would be?
She's gonna say Ursula. She would love to be Ursula. She's never no, not Ursula. Who would she be? This is so hard. Maybe I know her too well.
Okay. Yeah.
You know?
Yes, right over here.
Morning, guys.
Hey.
Nice seeing you guys yesterday, Tiana and Jodi. My question for you is, what are your thoughts on this day's trend of Disney remakes?
Love all the Disney remakes, love all the live action. I think it's just another great way for us all to enjoy these films. It's going to be beautiful. We've loved Beauty and the Beast, we've loved Aladdin, we love Lion King, we get to love Little Mermaid. Can't wait to see how that's going to come. And John DeLuca are the best, and we've known Robbie for 40 years, so we're so excited. But I think it's amazing. We get to enjoy it in a whole new way. It's exciting, very exciting. Great question.
Yes, right over here.
Hi. First I want to say to Anika, I never do these things, but you really endeared me today. I love The Princess and the Frog. I do want to say that, like you said, it came out in the last 10 years, and I think that movie had a lot to do with the way Black girls see themselves, so I want to thank you for that. My question was related to remakes too, because you guys obviously are so active kind of in your roles. Do you guys get to have any roles in the remakes or get to talk with the new actresses at all to get any input, give them advice?
As you can see, I have not had another role in anything. You know, what I think for The Princess and the Frog, what I'm most interested in, because it's also what the fans are most interested in, is a part 2. I get emails, I get tweets, I get all kinds of messages. We want a part 2. We want to see where this family went. How did the restaurant turn out? What happened? That would be really exciting for me. And people often send their queries to me. I'm not in charge. I'd like to be, but I am not. So what I tell you when you want to see a part 2 of Princess and the Frog is send your act to Disney Animation. Send them a physical letter. Make your petitions, because they don't know what you want unless you tell them. I know what you want, but I am not in charge.
Mr. Eicher, are you listening? So she was talking about live action films. I missed some of what you said, but Jodi just told me. What's wonderful about the live action is that a lot of people then go back to look at our movies, the OGs, as you said, the OGs. I was kidding, saying, what's OG? Is that old girl or what? Is that? That's what we thought it was the other day. But it brings them back to our movies, and they fall in love with our movies too. So it's all good, you know?
Yes. We have time for just one more question.
So sorry.
Well, you can catch them at their booth.
Yes, come to our tables. We'll
You
be here
can
till
ask
5.
questions.
That's right.
We'll be at the booth.
Sorry. Ursula, come to the table. Okay, I'll see. Personal invitation.
I was also that person as a kid who would sing and dance around to all my favorite Disney music and princess songs. Fast forward a few years though, and it's like, some of these notes are a little higher than I'm able to hit now. So I just wanted to know then, after singing these songs across all these years, are there any vocal tricks that you have to use to maybe hit some of the higher registers, or is it just a matter of taking it down a couple half steps, or changing the key entirely? If it's alright to ask, I don't know if that's
We don't change the key. We need to sound exactly like that day when you saw the movie. That's our job. And so that takes a whole lot of water and a whole lot of sleep and good living and a whole lot of Jesus. Let me tell you. A whole lot of Jesus. Thank you.
Well, these guys are still in perfect vocal shape, you know, and you are too. I mean, I'm not singing right now, but I sing to my
Don't listen to her. She sounds gorgeous. Stop it.
Well, I'm paid full time, but I do sing to my cats. So, and yesterday I had a couple fans that I sang a little bit yesterday. It was fun. I hope I didn't sound like B. Arthur. That's all.
I'm glad that you mentioned water and rest, because singing, your voice is a muscle. We're athletes. But you laugh. You laugh until you try to do an 8-show-a-week situation. One of the things, because all of us have been on Broadway, and you perform on stage, you rock it out. One of the things that's very important is to take care of your instrument. As an actor, the bigger picture is your entire body. So a lot of times people think it's vanity, and though everybody likes to be cute, it's also about tuning your car, keeping your instrument in motion. If you are going to be a singer, you never know when you're going to be called to sing. You must hydrate. You must warm up. You must stretch your instrument all the time and have it ready. And sometimes you're sick. The last time I sang a Tiana song, I was sick as a dog and didn't know it. I knew that I didn't. I was like, I think I have a little allergy. No, I had full-blown bronchitis. I didn't know. But did I sing the song?
Yes.
Was it easy? No. But because it's what I do and because I take care of my voice, I was able to move my way through the song and sort of duck and dodge around the flim that was happening. But it is really, really, that was sexy, right? It is really important if you want to be a performer, if you even just want to be a vocal performer. performer, not just, but if you want to be a voiceover artist that doesn't sing, make sure you take care of your instrument and take care of your body. That means not smoking. That means if you are an adult who wants to have an adult beverage, you need to do that in a way that is careful and, what do they say, everything in moderation. You know, it's a very, very disciplined art, and if you want to be somebody who's on stage, just be prepared to not have fun while you're performing. Be prepared. It's all about the discipline of the thing, because that is how you make sure that your instrument is in top shape, and you are your instrument. Longevity is key.
Practice, practice. Absolutely. And
that was it. That was everything. And and cut out the sugar. It acidifies the body and makes it very unhealthy. And work out every day. Little workout every single day.
That sugar might have taken me down when I was sick. I was hiding in the sugar.
It acidifies your body and sets you up for disease and inflammation.
So we have a favor real quick. Jodi wanted to know if she can get a selfie with everybody.